Number 1. When I was in the 4th grade, I was 13, 14 years old. I have no idea what year that is in American schools. I went to a private convent school. One of the girls there was very nice, and I was invited to her house for an overnight stay. She lived in a big 18th century hall in the northeast of England, miles away from anywhere. She had ponies, and I was really excited at the thought of staying over and riding out. I didn't know at the time her mom and dad were divorcing, and he was also a nasty alcoholic. My friend had an older sister who had been in trouble at school and was generally having a hard time smoking, fighting, etc. And the house had a real-life poltergeist. No one bloody told me that before I turned up, and I suppose I wouldn't have known what it was then. My mom and Granny took me in the car. We drove to the front of the house and sat there a moment, admiring the place. I always remember this, as we all heard something with big claws scratch down the side of the car. It was so weird, but it's honestly what we heard. Everyone was a bit, "Oh my God." I looked out the car window. Nothing there. When we got out, I did not want to get out. There were no scratches. I have no idea what it could have been. I asked my mom a while later what she thought, and she weakly answered, "Badger." But a badger wouldn't have gone up and scratched a car, surely. There were no dogs outside, and the dogs they had were shut in puppy cages in the kitchen. I have no idea. The house did not have a nice feeling. It was pretty and made a lovely great stone with stone hounds on the gatepost. But when you walked in, it felt ominous. As a teenager, I was aware that the atmosphere was very flat, but didn't really think about it at the time. So we had dinner, went to see the horses, etc., and generally mucked out. They had interconnecting doors with little spaces inside. Do you know what I mean? So you would open one door, step up a step, and then straight away open the next door. The spaces inside wasn't much more than a foot. Well, I opened the first door, went inside, and then couldn't open the door in front of me, or the door behind. After a bit of frantically shaking the door and giving it a good kick, it finally flew open, and I shot out into this next room. It had never stuck before, and everyone crowded around to see what happened. Later on that day, we were in the garden when someone started throwing pebbles at us. Thinking it was an older sister, we shouted for them to stop, but the pebbles kept going. They never hit us, just plopped around us on the front lawn. It looked as if they were being thrown from an upstairs window, but I couldn't see anyone doing it. And yes, when we went inside to complain, the sister was in the kitchen with her mom, and had been the whole time. I suppose she could have dashed around from the front to the back. The house was jolly cold, although all houses were then, and they couldn't keep their goldfish alive. The dogs wouldn't go into the front room, and all in all, it wasn't a very nice place to sleep. My friend said that she used to see phantom dogs on the front lawn, running around, and often heard footsteps in the attic. I had a nice weekend, went out for a ride, did a bit of shopping with friends, and then went home. In lower 6, my friends dropped out of the school. She was really bright and I lost touch. I never went back to the house, but I often wonder whether the strange things were still happening or whether they stopped when the family moved out. Number 2. I was 14 and sitting by myself in the living room playing some Halo, when I noticed that the room around me seemed oddly quiet. I paused the game and tried to listen for the difference. It was strange. My house is over 100 years old, and usually there's an old creak inaudible from somewhere nearby. Not now, though. It was dead quiet. I felt strange, but not threatened. There was nothing sinister about the silence. I sat for a few more minutes just listening. It almost felt peaceful, actually. Then suddenly I felt a hand on my shoulder, very lightly and briefly. but even today I still remember the distinct feeling of a hand on my shoulder. It didn't scare me, nor did I jump up in surprise. I actually felt a familiar presence, like family. I mentioned the experience to my mom, and she told me she'd experienced the same thing, only one room over. She says she felt her father's presence with the hand. Number 3. I once walked on an Indian reservation, and it's late at night in South Dakota. Some friends and I are driving. One of them is a native, and we are discussing folk tales of the area. Suddenly, I see the white light running towards the road across the plain, and my friends step on the brakes. "You're doing that because you saw it too, right?" "Yup." We pull up to the area, and there is nothing there. I have goosebumps all the way back to where I'm staying. That night, I have awful dreams about native warriors trying to destroy New York City, and then I wake up with something breathing in my ear, whispering to me. I scream my friend's name and looks over at me and tells me it's okay. I fall back into the same dream over and over again. I keep trying to change the outcome. The next day, my friend told me when he woke up and saw me screaming, a massive shadow was above me. The tall man, not Slender Man. This guy is different. My friend didn't want to tell me he saw it since he knew it would freak me out even more. Was afraid to sleep for weeks, smudged the crap out of my room, put sage on the windowsill, and hung up mad dream catchers. Shit was scary, but also kind of funny. I think they had fun messing with a white girl. Number 4. I was about 9 or 10. I went to my friend Allison's house. She and her parents were at her soccer game, which I found out later. Her house was 3 lots down the street on the other side. The house had a 6-foot fence around the property, opening up to the driveway. Whenever she wasn't home, I would just wait for her in the backyard. Her swing set was totally badass, so here I am swinging, waiting for Allison, having a great time. I am watching through their kitchen window, through their living room, and out the front window, hoping to see her or her parents walk up to the front door. Then I saw a dark, slow-moving figure, object thing, move across the front room. The next few seconds seemed to last forever. I am no longer swinging, still sitting on my favorite swing, and I am no longer happy. Deathly still, I watch this figure, holding my breath as it glides. No, no, no. The voice in my head shrieks as the pitch black shadow stops. Panic is starting to set in my young mind. Hold perfectly still, I tell myself, intently watching as the figure starts to turn towards me. I see no face or any detail, but I feel it as it faces me. Definitely male, definitely full of hate. Every hair feels like it's standing on my head. Scared shitless and not able to move, I tell myself this can't be real. It's all some waking dream. The thing starts moving towards me. I let out a loud gasp-like scream. It's almost like I can feel its intention. I'm frozen by the hate I can feel. I look past the door to the kitchen, to the driveway. If that guy comes out of the door at me, I will never make it past, I think. I look the other way towards the fence. The side doesn't open up, but I can climb it. We always did to get to the field. I have never climbed it great, but I can. Looking back out the window, I see the shadow man slide right through the window. Ah! I scream as I run towards the field. Never looking back, I climb that fence the fastest I ever did. Falling off the top of the fence, I land on my back, jump up, and run as fast as I have in my life back to my house. Upon entering my room, I run straight to my room and entered my closet. This is where I sat for the next 4 hours until my parents convinced me to come out and eat. To this day, I still get chills when I recall that stuff. Heebie-jeebies. Number 5. I live in Mississauga, and I have a Hungarian Kovacs named K2 after the famous peak in Pakistan. I go for daily walks every day with him, once in the morning and once at night. Most nights are pretty uneventful, except with K2 stops in front of a bench near a thickly wooded area and just stares at it. At first, I try to ignore it, thinking K2 just sits there for rest, or there are squirrels nearby. However, lately, I have been noticing K2 getting pretty aggressive at the bench, like it does when it's about to fight another dog. I try to ignore it, but one day, K2 starts barking really loudly and drags me to fight whatever it's seeing. Now, this is pretty dangerous, especially during winter, as it's brutal in Canada, and if I slip in the snow, there's no one to help me. I had to use all my energy to drag him away from that area, and I was kind of spooked and kind of excited. I asked my dad, who believes in paranormal stuff, how to deal with this, and he said if there is paranormal stuff going around, then it's best that you either change the walking route or go talk to it and tell it that we mean no harm. Naturally, I choose the latter because I like walking in the forest, as it's peaceful, and walking through the bench area was the only way to get to it. Me and K2 went, and when we got to the bench, I said loudly, "Peace be upon you. We mean no harm. If you can walk away whenever my dog is around, I would greatly appreciate it." I crap you not. This thing actually got up and left. I can tell you because K2's head was moving wherever this thing was moving. I was so scared at that point, but it was worth it in the end, as it made the walking that much peaceful. However, lately, whenever my dog gets fixated at something in the house, I get pretty scared.